For hearing parents, this is very difficult. Having the first deaf child in their family, they accept interventions without full information, and meanwhile, the child grows older. Later, they find out that their speech is not clear, yet they continue. Sign language is ignored. Deaf people are forced to speak. Who's to blame for these communication issues? Doctors? This is my sign name. I am Mansi. I work at ISH, which stands for India Signing Hands. ISH is a company owned by a deaf individual, Alok Kejriwal. I am the operations head at ISH, and my role is to coordinate and manage the news and entertainment videos along with the various other projects. We usually work 8 and sometimes 10 hours a day. However, during the Halloween video shoot, we all wanted to create a video at par with the horror movies in the hearing film industry. The makeup of the characters was the difficult part, but we were confident about the filming and the editing, so we all stayed back here for 24 hours. Every time someone from home called, we said just another 30 minutes, and like that it kept adding up. We reached office at 7 a.m. and worked the whole day. We looked out at the sun was setting. We were so engrossed, no one realized the day passing by. Next time we looked out, it was sunset again. It was fantastic. We divided the work and even slept here. So yes, I can say I have worked here once for 24 hours, no breaks. I am a hearing person. I grew up with my parents and they had many friends who also had their children. Sometimes we used to visit other deaf families who had hearing children and also my hearing relatives, etc. I feel that the definition of the word help in India is quite different as compared to Europe, US, UK, and some other places. Unlike the West, where the term help may be symbolic of oppression or discrimination, in India, to help is not considered that offensive. Help here means come with us. We have been that way. That is not the right choice. Kind of like directing them to the right path. We won't avoid a person who we know is facing a problem just because they have not asked for help. Instead, we believe in the power of connection and assimilation. Not my problem, should not cross boundaries is not the culture in India. However, remember I was talking about the stigma around deaf people and business. If you try to find the root cause of this misconception, it leads you to the school situation. Teachers still have the pity and charity mentality. They would suggest interventions like cochlear implants or hearing aids. Slightest sounds from the deaf child's mouth and they rejoice and encourage it further. For hearing parents, it is very difficult. Having the first deaf child in their family, they accept the interventions without full information, and meanwhile, the child grows older. Later, they find out that their speech is not clear, yet they continue. Sign language is ignored, deaf people are coaxed to use speech. Who's to blame for these communication issues? Doctors? School teachers? Parents don't have high expectations from their disabled child and assume that the child is dull or retarded. Imagine if doctors, teachers, parents use sign language, these stereotypes will automatically reduce. Having an effective and complete language, I think deaf people can be entrepreneurs or anything else they want. It all comes down to whether or not sign language is accepted by the hearing community. If there is accessible language that is sign language, most of these misconceptions and communication barriers can be avoided. I understand your question, but for me it is not something exceptional. I have worked with hearing people and now I'm working with deaf people. I think my experience has been great in both settings. But as a hearing person working with a deaf team, one thing I have noticed is that the deaf are more comfortable using sign language while communicating. Texting or writing is okay for chit chat, but for full communication and comprehension of each other's message, to be able to express our ideas fully, we need our first language. Writing does not fulfill those communication needs. Using sign language is the most appropriate choice when working with deaf individuals. Accessible environments are very hard to find in most places, and accessible language is a foundation for creativity and conversations. We may try to write, gesture, or use speech, but these methods really don't match up to signed communication. Another thing I want to mention is that in spoken language, many words and letters have similar mouth patterns but sound and mean different. Lip reading is a lot of guesswork for deaf people and a major reason for misunderstandings. Imagine during discussions, etc., deaf members get incorrect facts because they're relying on lip reading. We placate and assure them that we will tell them later, and then we blame and underestimate them. People may say lip reading is an important skill, but its use is very limited. For full communication and expression, especially business, media, entertainment, so much more, lip reading will not be successful. I don't know the global perspectives on the utility of lip reading, but in India, I don't see deaf people using it so much. When we have a common and complete language, we are able to communicate with the assurance of mutual understanding. Use sign language and you will see there is no difference between a deaf and hearing person's abilities. The answers and discussions will not sound off topic or misplaced. It is disappointing that we blame deaf people for this. We have hands. It will be nice if we can sign. I think it is ridiculous to keep forcing deaf people to speak when it is not their way. Instead, hearing people should try to use those hands.